Unearthed Enigma. The secrets inside Alexandria's mysterious black coffin. Deep within the bustling core of Alexandria, a cryptic relic from the past remained hidden beneath the earth. A jet black coffin, untouched and sealed for over 2 millennia. When it was finally opened in 2018, no one could have anticipated the strange revelations it held. Let's unravel the tale behind Alexandria's mysterious dark sarcophagus. Beneath Alexandria's lively modern streets, a stunning archaeological surprise made global headlines in 2018. During a routine construction project, workers stumbled upon a colossal, pitch-black stone coffin, untouched for more than 2,000 years. This wasn't the elaborate burial chamber of a pharaoh. Instead, it was plain, dark, and completely unadorned. This granite sarcophagus was unlike any discovered in Alexandria before, both in size and condition. It had never been disturbed, and no clues hinted at its contents. Speculation ran wild. Could this finally be the final resting place of Alexander the Great? Others imagined it might contain a forgotten general or a noble of high rank. But what lay within was stranger than fiction. Alexandria has long been a city cloaked in secrets. Founded by Alexander the Great in 331 BCE, much of its original grandeur lies buried beneath urban sprawl and the Mediterranean Sea. Occasionally, fragments of that ancient world re-emerge. This coffin was uncovered in the city Gaber neighborhood, an area long associated with archaeological finds. The moment workers hit something solid underground, it was obvious. This was not a normal dig. The sarcophagus was enormous, 9 feet in length, over 5 feet wide, and standing more than 6 feet tall. Constructed from black granite, it was sealed tight with an unusually thick layer of mortar, indicating it had not been opened since it was first buried. The scale and craftsmanship led experts to believe it was meant for someone of great importance. Some dared to think this could be Alexander himself, whose final resting place has never been confirmed, despite his name living on in the city he founded. Another possibility gave archaeologists pause: the age-old belief in tomb curses. Tales of doom and misfortune linked to ancient burials are plentiful, from the famous curse of Tutankhamun to mysterious deaths surrounding other digs. Local rumors warned that breaking the seal could unleash something dark and powerful from the past. Nevertheless, researchers moved forward. The historical stakes were too high to ignore, but opening the stone coffin was a feat in itself. The lid, weighing an estimated 15 tons, demanded heavy-duty equipment just to budge. As soon as it cracked open, an overpowering stench burst forth, an ominous sign of what lay inside. No golden artifacts, no preserved royal mummy. Instead, a disturbing sight met the archaeologists: a pool of thick, reddish fluid, and within it, 3 disintegrated skeletons. The liquid, as it turned out, was a mixture of groundwater and decomposing remains, centuries of decay forming a grim, foul slurry. The skeletal remains included 2 males and 1 female, but beyond that, little was immediately known. There were no carvings, no inscriptions, no grave goods, highly unusual for a tomb of this magnitude. Most ancient Egyptian burials included symbolic items for the journey to the afterlife. The absence of these deepened the mystery. Who were these people? Why bury them in such a massive, anonymous coffin? And why take such great effort to seal it so thoroughly? The discovery set off a storm of wild theories. Some speculated that the strange liquid had supernatural powers. Believe it or not, a few even requested to drink it, convinced it could bestow mystical energy. Other theories suggested a forgotten ceremonial practice, maybe a botched attempt at mummification, or even a burial as punishment scenario. More grounded theories proposed that the individuals entombed may have been elite soldiers or local aristocrats. The sarcophagus's grand size hinted at high status, yet the lack of decoration hinted at something out of the ordinary. One idea suggested they may have died unexpectedly, perhaps from disease or in combat, requiring a swift, unceremonious burial. Another possibility was that the coffin had originally been commissioned for someone else, but later reused as a mass grave in an emergency. Despite intensive study, no conclusive explanation has emerged. The bones were sent off for further analysis, and the sarcophagus was preserved for posterity. Though it didn't reveal the tomb of Alexander the Great, this enigmatic discovery remains one of the most puzzling and haunting archaeological finds in Egypt's modern history. Its size, its eerie contents, and its unanswered questions ensure that the tale of the black granite coffin continues to fascinate. And this, as strange as it is, may be just one of many secrets still buried beneath the sands of Egypt. Vanished beneath the waves. The forgotten world of Doggerland. Across the globe, entire cultures have been swallowed by the sea, leaving behind only fragments and fading legends. Off Europe's coast, beneath the cold waters of the North Sea, lies evidence of an even greater disappearance, a prehistoric land that once joined Britain to mainland Europe. Rich in life and bustling with human activity, this vast territory vanished without warning. This is the tale of Doggerland, an ancient civilization consumed by rising tides and forgotten by time. Thousands of years ago, the Earth looked dramatically different. Enormous ice sheets covered much of the globe, locking away water and lowering sea levels to expose continents that are now submerged. One of these submerged regions was Doggerland, an immense stretch of land that connected modern-day Britain with what are now the Netherlands, Denmark, and Germany. Far from desolate, this region was vibrant and fertile. It featured grassy plains, meandering rivers, and thick woodlands. For millennia, it supported communities of early humans, nomadic hunter-gatherers who tracked wild animals, harvested the land and sea, and built their lives in a place that would one day disappear beneath the ocean. The first clues to Doggerland's existence didn't emerge from ancient scrolls or written chronicles, but from fishing nets. For centuries, trawlers working in the North Sea hauled up unexpected finds, stone tools, human remains, and bones of long-extinct animals. These mysterious items, pulled from the seabed, told a story of a drowned world where people had once walked. It wasn't until the 1900s that scientists started piecing together what Doggerland truly was. Technological advances in underwater mapping and marine archaeology exposed something remarkable: a prehistoric landscape preserved beneath the sea. Using sonar and seismic surveys, researchers identified old river paths, gentle hills, and even vague traces of human settlements still etched into the seabed. Once a lush and inhabitable region, Doggerland is now a barren stretch beneath the waves. But how did it vanish? Doggerland wasn't wiped out overnight. It was slowly overtaken by the sea. As the Ice Age ended and global temperatures climbed, glaciers melted, and sea levels steadily rose. Bit by bit, water began to flood the land, pushing human communities toward higher ground. Then, approximately 8,000 years ago, disaster struck. A catastrophic underwater landslide, now known as the Starrega Slide, occurred off the Norwegian coast. This colossal collapse of seabed triggered a massive tsunami, with towering waves surging across the North Sea. Doggerland was hit hard. Waves reaching over 30 feet in height devastated its coastline, obliterating forests, flooding villages, and sweeping away lives in mere hours. What had once been a vital land bridge between Britain and Europe was now fragmented, reduced to isolated islands before being consumed entirely by the sea. For those who lived there, the tsunami was likely a nightmare beyond imagination. Some may have managed to escape to higher elevations, fleeing to Britain or the European mainland. Others weren't as fortunate, and their lives were lost in the deluge. And just like that, Doggerland vanished. Yet, could remnants of this lost world still lie hidden beneath the water? The North Sea is an unforgiving place for archaeological research. Its waters are murky, and its floor is constantly in flux. Despite these challenges, new clues have continued to surface. Archaeologists have uncovered ancient tools, pieces of wooden structures, and even prehistoric footprints preserved in seabed mud, offering rare insight into the daily lives of Doggerland's last residents. In 2018, scientists using high-resolution sonar detected what may be evidence of buried settlements beneath layers of seabed sediment. Some experts believe that entire communities, and perhaps even graveyards, might remain intact, shielded from time under the ocean floor. The biggest question remains: will Doggerland ever be fully uncovered? Unlike other lost civilizations, Doggerland is concealed beneath a shallow but treacherous sea, where currents and storms make exploration extremely difficult. Even with modern equipment, much of the ancient landscape is unreachable. It remains a spectral memory beneath the waves, its forests, rivers, and people buried forever beneath the sea. Still, the mystery of Doggerland continues to captivate. Some researchers suggest that its tale may have inspired myths, legends of a sunken homeland, a once prosperous civilization swallowed by water. Could Doggerland have been the origin of the Atlantis legend? For now, Doggerland exists as both a known truth and an untouchable relic, a land that once bustled with life, now lost to the depths. Its discovery is a powerful reminder of how much human history lies hidden beneath the oceans, worlds erased by the march of nature and time, waiting to be rediscovered. The Rohonc Manuscript, history's silent enigma, a manuscript wrapped in secrecy, written in a language no one recognizes, has confounded experts, linguists, cryptologists, and scholars for more than 2 centuries. This is the Rohonc Manuscript, a bizarre and baffling historical riddle that still refuses to give up its secrets. Although the story of this puzzling document begins in Hungary, its true origin remains lost in the past. It first came to light in the early 1800s when a Hungarian nobleman, Gustav Bathany, donated it to the Hungarian Academy of Sciences. The strange book had been part of his family's personal library, but how it ended up there is anyone's guess. The book is modest in size, consisting of 448 handwritten pages. Each sheet is packed with a mysterious script written from left to right. The symbols are unlike anything previously encountered. Over 200 distinct characters make up its alphabet, more than any known language in the world. At a glance, it resembles a medieval religious or historical manuscript. But there's one major issue. No one can understand it. Not a single letter matches any recognized writing system. And the more researchers analyzed it, the stranger it appeared. But it's not just the indecipherable writing that raises eyebrows. The manuscript also contains numerous illustrations. These drawings portray scenes of religion, warfare, cities, and people who appear to be saints, kings, and fighters. What's even more perplexing is the blend of religious themes. Some artwork mirrors Christian imagery, while other elements seem inspired by Islamic or even Hindu traditions, an unusual combination for a single text. This confusing mix only adds to the uncertainty surrounding the manuscript's purpose and origin. Judging by its stylistic traits and the medieval world it depicts, scholars estimate the manuscript was created sometime between the 1400s and 1700s. Still, the diversity of faith-based visuals leads to puzzling contradictions. If it's a Christian document, why borrow Eastern motifs? If it leans toward Hinduism or Islam, why include crosses and saints? Whatever its intent, one thing is clear. The manuscript was created with care. The handwriting is deliberate, and the illustrations are intricately positioned, suggesting the author deeply intended for their message to be understood. and yet that meaning remains out of reach. For more than 200 years, dedicated minds have attempted to unlock the manuscript's secrets. Linguists, historians, mathematicians, even codebreakers trained in military encryption, but none have succeeded. One of the earliest systematic attempts took place in the 19th century, when Hungarian researchers compared the text to local languages such as Hungarian, Latin, Romanian, and Sanskrit. But not one of them matched. In the 20th century, specialists applied frequency analysis, an approach used in code breaking to identify letter and word patterns. Even that approach failed to reveal a meaningful linguistic structure. Some characters appear often, and certain symbols seem to repeat like words, but the overall pattern doesn't resemble any known grammatical system. It's as though the manuscript was written in a completely extinct language, or perhaps it's not a language at all. Over time, theories about the manuscript's identity have spanned a wide range. Some are plausible, others verge on the fantastical. One idea proposes that the manuscript is a religious text, perhaps created by a secretive Christian group. The hybrid symbolism might reflect a fusion of multiple spiritual beliefs. But if so, why would it be written in a language no one else ever used? Another possibility is that it preserves a now extinct tongue, a language from a long-forgotten community. Some historians have even drawn connections to the old secular Hungarian Rohonc script. However, even that historic writing system doesn't align with the strange structure of the manuscript. Then there's a more skeptical view that the manuscript is a complete fabrication. According to this theory, the book is a 19th century forgery, an elaborate hoax designed to mislead. Critics point out the symbols feel artificially random and don't follow the natural patterns found in real languages. If the text is entirely made up, the motive remains a mystery. Was it a joke? A nobleman's attempt to pass off a modern creation as an ancient relic? If that's true, whoever composed it went to astonishing lengths to make it look convincing. The sheer volume, 448 pages, and the painstaking inclusion of over 200 individual characters raise serious doubts about it being a simple prank. But here's the catch. No one has ever conclusively proven the manuscript to be fake. Even with modern tools and digital analysis, no expert has translated a single line. The manuscript remains an unbreakable code. Today, it rests in Budapest at the Hungarian Academy of Sciences, still defying all attempts to understand it. Could it represent an ancient, forgotten language? A secret religious code? Or just an intricate ruse? No one can say for certain. Until someone finally deciphers its contents, the Rohonc Manuscript will remain one of history's most impenetrable mysteries. And it's not the only piece of knowledge lost to time. Sometimes, humanity's deepest secrets aren't hidden in parchment or paper, but in carvings, buried stones, or ruins waiting silently beneath the earth. The Rohonc Manuscript remains unreadable, locked behind a wall of symbols no one can crack. And while this cryptic book leaves experts scratching their heads, it's only one chapter in the long, haunting saga of human knowledge lost to the ages. The Forbidden Codex, a monastic marvel with a sinister legend. In a quiet corner of a Czech library lies an extraordinary relic, an enormous and bizarre manuscript whose origins are cloaked in legend. Many believe it was created with infernal assistance. This is the tale of the Codex Gigas, commonly referred to as the Devil's Bible, a text so massive, so intricate, and so extraordinary that for generations, people have doubted it could have been created by human effort alone. Reputedly crafted with the aid of the devil, the Devil's Bible stands as one of history's most mystifying and controversial books. Known formally as the Codex Gigas, it is among the largest surviving medieval manuscripts, nearly 3 feet tall and tipping the scales at over 165 pounds. It is encased in wooden boards covered in leather. Its gigantic size is astonishing on its own, but that's far from its only peculiarity. Inside, the Codex holds a complete Latin Bible, chronicles of history, treatises on medicine, and rituals for driving out evil spirits, all penned in an eerily consistent and flawless script. And at the very center of it lies something truly unsettling, a life-sized, disturbing portrait of Satan himself. Historians estimate the Codex Gigas was written during the early 1200s, most likely within a Benedictine monastery located in what is now the Czech Republic. Yet, the identity of the person who composed it and their reason for doing so remains a deep mystery. One of the most captivating and eerie tales surrounding the Codex is a medieval legend that continues to intrigue historians and supernatural believers alike. According to this tale, the manuscript was created by a monk who had committed an egregious offense. As punishment, he was sentenced to be sealed alive inside a wall, left to perish in solitude. In a desperate attempt to escape this fate, the monk offered to produce the most magnificent book the world had ever seen, one that would glorify God and preserve all of humankind's knowledge. He vowed to complete it in a single night, but the task was impossibly vast, even for the most skilled scribe. As the night wore on and the deadline loomed, the monk realized he could not finish. In his despair, he turned to the only entity that could grant him such power, the devil. He is said to have made a pact, his soul in return for the book's completion. By morning, the book was miraculously finished, flawless in appearance and content. As a chilling token of their agreement, the monk is said to have devoted an entire page to a terrifying illustration of Satan, complete with horns, claws, and a devilish gaze. Though it's a captivating folktale, could there be any truth behind it? One of the most confounding aspects of the Codex Gigas is its perfect penmanship. Every page appears to have been written by the same hand, with no apparent variation in style or breaks in the ink's flow. Experts analyzing the book have determined that producing a manuscript of this magnitude should have required at least 25 to 30 years of continuous work. Yet, the consistent script hints that it may have been created in a much shorter span. How could one person have written such a tome with such unchanging precision? Its contents are just as bewildering. In addition to the sacred scriptures, it includes forbidden texts, grim passages describing rituals of exorcism, medieval medical treatments, and even references to demonic practices. Many believe this strange combination of holy and occult knowledge suggests something deeper than simple devotion to faith. The infamous image of the devil adds another layer to the mystery. It's unlike religious artwork of the time. The devil is shown squatting, with long claws, a serpentine tongue, and glowing red eyes. Some interpret the image as a sinister presence sealed within the book, while others see it as a warning, a cryptic message about the price the monk paid for his ambition. But if there was no demonic involvement, how could one individual manage such a colossal project? One theory is that the monk responsible for the manuscript suffered from a psychological condition akin to what we now know as hypergraphia, an obsessive drive to write without rest. Some scholars believe he may have lived in religious seclusion, wholly devoted to the creation of the Codex over a significant portion of his life. Another suggestion is that the book was a collective effort, later disguised to appear as the work of a single person. However, this idea loses traction since there is no evidence of other contributors, no shifts in script, no changes in ink tone, and no corrections over time. This leads some to believe that the monk may indeed have worked alone, perhaps pushed by some unknown force or deep internal compulsion. Throughout the centuries, the Codex Gigas has been followed by a shadow of misfortune. It has been stolen, relocated, and changed hands across several regions. At one point, it resided in the Royal Library of Sweden. During a major fire in the 19th century, the library caught ablaze. Witnesses claim that in order to save the manuscript, someone threw it from a window. It landed mostly unharmed, while much of the rest of the collection perished in flames. Some see this as an omen that the manuscript is protected by something beyond human understanding. Today, the Devil's Bible is safeguarded within Sweden's National Library, preserved under strict environmental controls. Experts continue to pore over its text, but questions remain unanswered. Who was the person behind its creation? How was it completed with such precision? And why dedicate a page to the image of the devil? These mysteries may remain unsolved forever. The Codex Gigas is a puzzle, its secrets buried in parchment and ink. Yet, not all ancient enigmas are found in books. Some are etched into stone, hidden beneath soil, waiting patiently through time to reveal their stories. The enigmatic copper inscription, history's greatest unclaimed fortune, uncovered not as delicate scrollwork, but as a metallic relic etched with messages we still can't fully decode. We now turn from one riddle carved in stone to another mystery that may point the way to immense riches, or perhaps something even more elusive. This is the Copper Scroll, an artifact wholly unique among the discoveries at Qumran. Unlike any other item found among the Dead Sea Scrolls, this ancient text isn't a religious manuscript, a legal document, or a prophetic vision. It appears, instead, to be a literal map to treasure, one engraved on metal rather than fragile parchment. It lists numerous secret stashes of precious metals, gold, silver, and other riches, hidden in places that no one has yet managed to locate. But what exactly is this mysterious object? Who authored it? And most intriguingly, where is the wealth it speaks of? First uncovered in 1952 within a cave at Qumran, the same archaeological location famed for the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Copper Scroll stands out in every way. While other scrolls were penned on papyrus or animal hide and included sacred writings, legal codes, and theological commentary, this one was crafted in an entirely different manner. Rather than being delicately inked on parchment, it was painstakingly engraved onto thin plates of copper. The material was so fragile that scholars had to carefully slice and unroll it in sections. The language, though bearing similarities to Hebrew, was unusually constructed, almost as if it had been composed in a secret dialect or encoded system. Its content? Unlike anything ever recovered before or since. Instead of discussing spiritual matters or law, the scroll reads much like an inventory, cataloging more than 60 sites, each reportedly holding stores of gold, silver, and other valuables. The magnitude of what it claims is staggering, valued in today's currency at billions of dollars. Despite decades of exploration and research, not a single one of these supposed treasure caches has been definitively located. Some academics argue that this wealth may have been hidden by Jewish groups during the Roman siege of Jerusalem in 70 CE, possibly treasures once held in the Temple of Solomon or the Second Temple before their destruction. Others suggest it may trace back even further, connected to ancient priestly orders or the Essenes, the mysterious community that once resided in Qumran. Theories about the origin of the Copper Scroll are as varied as the people who've attempted to decode it. Some propose that it's a factual ledger of hidden riches, hastily created as a final attempt to safeguard invaluable possessions from invading forces. If accurate, this could represent the most significant cache of ancient treasure yet to be discovered. Conversely, skeptics maintain that the scroll is either symbolic or an outright fabrication. The unusual dialect, the unclear geographical references, and the grandiose amounts of wealth all raise questions about its authenticity. Could it be that the Copper Scroll was never meant to guide anyone to real gold? Is it an elaborate deception or metaphorical message, rather than a literal map? One of the primary obstacles to interpreting the Copper Scroll is the vagueness of its location descriptions. The text refers to places that either no longer exist or whose ancient names have changed beyond recognition. Unlike other historic treasure maps that feature recognizable markers or landscape clues, this scroll offers references that are maddeningly elusive: tunnels, water basins, courtyards, tombs, without any precise coordinates or context. In the years following its discovery, both professional archaeologists and amateur explorers have scoured the region in search of even a trace of the fabled riches. While a few believe they may have located potential dig sites, no definitive discoveries have ever been made. The central mystery still lingers. If the treasure truly existed, was it discovered long ago and quietly removed? Or is it still buried beneath layers of earth and time in the deserts of the Middle East? A further puzzle is the scroll's construction itself. Why carve these secrets into metal when every other Dead Sea document was penned on materials meant for limited, sacred readership? Unlike those fragile writings, the Copper Scroll was built to last. Its creator clearly intended it to endure centuries, possibly millennia, ensuring that its message, whatever it may be, would not be lost. The labor involved in engraving words into metal implies that the contents were considered exceptionally important. If the Copper Scroll is indeed authentic, and if the treasure it describes still lies undiscovered, it would rank among the most astonishing archaeological finds in human history. Such a discovery would reshape our understanding of ancient economies, religious customs, and regional power. But if it's a cleverly designed myth, or simply a misunderstood record, it still remains one of antiquity's most puzzling riddles. Was this copper artifact created by a desperate people clinging to the remnants of their civilization? A forgotten culture leaving behind clues? Or was it an ancient enigma deliberately crafted to confound those who tried to follow its directions? The Copper Scroll continues to baffle and intrigue, a cryptic window into a distant past filled with hope, fear, and possibly immense fortune. Yet, not every enigma is inscribed in metal or ink. Some are written in stone, scattered through the remnants of vanished cities, societies so sophisticated, so seemingly ahead of their time, that their abrupt vanishing raises questions we may never be able to answer. Kailasa Temple, the monument etched from a mountain's heart. Few remnants of the ancient world showcase human ingenuity, quite like the Kailasa Temple in India, a colossal marvel of architecture that seems to defy all logical explanation. Found within the Ellora caves of Maharashtra, this sacred structure challenges everything we thought we knew about ancient construction methods. At a casual glance, Kailasa may seem like another impressive Indian temple, but upon closer inspection, it reveals something astonishing, something that sets it apart from any other structure on the planet. Unlike most ancient monuments, which were painstakingly built stone by stone, the Kailasa Temple was not built at all. It was carved, sculpted straight from the mountain itself. The sheer achievement of creating such a structure is staggering. Engineers and artisans had to remove close to 200,000 tons of dense basalt rock. Even more impressively, the work started at the mountain's peak and progressed downward, a rare method called vertical excavation. This process flips conventional construction on its head, requiring the builders to reveal the structure by removing what surrounded it, rather than assembling it piece by piece. This singular approach remains nearly unmatched in ancient engineering. While most temples were constructed over centuries using bricks, scaffolds, and careful layering, Kailasa was effectively unveiled by slicing into the earth. How could this be possible? And more puzzling, why don't we see this method replicated elsewhere? Though pinpointing the temple's origin is difficult, most historians date its creation to the 8th century CE, during the reign of King Krishna I of the Rashtrakuta dynasty. It is believed to be a tribute to Lord Shiva, a central deity in Hindu belief, and is said to represent Mount Kailash, Shiva's legendary celestial dwelling. But in spite of this attribution, there are no surviving plans, blueprints, or written records describing how this massive undertaking was accomplished or who orchestrated it. There are numerous theories, ranging from pragmatic to mind-bending. Some scholars assert that a workforce of highly skilled stonemasons used basic tools, such as chisels, mallets, and picks, to painstakingly chip away the rock over several decades. This theory assumes a slow and labor-intensive process. However, others question how such massive quantities of rock, estimated at several tons per day, could have been cleared in just 18 to 20 years, a timeline cited by some historians. The rate of excavation required seems unfathomable using only primitive tools. This has led to a surge in alternative hypotheses. Some researchers suggest that long-lost construction methods, now beyond our understanding, may have been employed. Others even propose that the temple predates the Rashtrakutas, having been shaped over multiple generations, with credit later attributed to the dynasty. One of the most debated and controversial ideas, often dismissed by mainstream academia, is that the Kailasa temple might be the work of an ancient, technologically advanced civilization. Supporters of this view point to its symmetrical layout, polished interior walls, and intricately carved sculptures as signs of engineering brilliance beyond what is believed possible for the era. Comparisons have been drawn between Kailasa and other unexplained sites across the globe, like Machu Picchu in Peru or the Great Pyramids of Egypt. Could it be that ancient India once housed a culture capable of architectural feats we still struggle to explain today? Then comes the question, why was it built this way at all? While other Indian temples followed well-established construction traditions, the creators of Kailasa took on an almost impossibly ambitious challenge, chiseling a sanctuary out of a single block of mountain. Some believe this choice was deeply symbolic. In Hindu cosmology, Mount Kailash is viewed as eternal, immovable, and divine. By carving the temple directly into a mountain, the builders may have been aiming to manifest a structure that mirrored this divine permanence, creating a sacred space meant to last forever, a literal embodiment of the divine on earth. Interestingly, Kailasa isn't the only example of rock-cut design at Ellora. The region contains over 100 temples, monasteries, and caves representing several faiths, including Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. Yet none of these other monuments match the scale, ambition, or intricacy of Kailasa. Despite its breathtaking grandeur, the temple remains shrouded in mystery. How was such an immense project completed so quickly? Why do we lack construction records? And why does this structure stand alone, with no similar examples before or after it? For now, Kailasa Temple stands as one of ancient India's greatest enigmas, a structure so vast, so intricate, and so seemingly beyond the reach of its time that it continues to inspire wonder, speculation, and admiration. Yet, like so many lost marvels of antiquity, its true story may forever remain buried in the silence of stone. The Voynich Enigma, history's most cryptic manuscript. Hidden beneath indecipherable symbols lies a book that has resisted all attempts at comprehension. A manuscript composed in a language that belongs to no known culture. A puzzle so profound that generations of brilliant minds have tried and failed to solve it. This is the perplexing story of the Voynich manuscript. In 1912, Wilfrid Voynich, a rare book dealer, discovered this strange volume while browsing the shelves of a Jesuit college near Rome. The moment he saw it, he sensed was no ordinary find. The manuscript's pages were covered in looping, ornate script that hinted at organization and meaning, but the language was like nothing he had ever encountered. The strange text was accompanied by eerie and fantastical illustrations, detailed sketches of unknown plants, astronomical diagrams that didn't align with any known constellation, and human figures engaged in bizarre, ritualistic scenes. The entire manuscript was penned on high-quality vellum, later radiocarbon, dated to somewhere between 1404 and 1438. But beyond that, everything else remains cloaked in uncertainty. There is no mention of an author, no title page, no location of origin. It's as though the book simply materialized out of the void of time. What sets the Voynich manuscript apart is not just its age, but its total resistance to interpretation. Despite being over 6 centuries old, not a single person has ever managed to read it. The writing follows rules. It features repeated words, structured syntax, and consistent grammar, but it does not correspond to any known writing system. It's neither Latin, Greek, Arabic, nor any extinct language ever documented. Over the years, many of the world's top cryptanalysts have taken a crack at it. During World War II, even the military's most skilled codebreakers, those who cracked some of the Nazis' most complex ciphers, tried to unlock its meaning. They failed. More recently, artificial intelligence and modern linguistic software have been brought to bear. But even these powerful tools have yielded no conclusive breakthroughs. Some propose the book might be a kind of coded shorthand, intelligible only to a select few. Others argue it could be a centuries-old forgery, crafted to trick scholars into chasing a riddle without a solution. But if that were the case, why go to such lengths? Why create a fake language with consistent internal rules and decorate the pages with such carefully rendered, pseudo-scientific illustrations? Theories surrounding the manuscript's purpose and origin range from rational to outrageous. Some academics suspect it may be a forgotten medical text, perhaps the work of an alchemist or herbalist recording obscure remedies and healing methods. The unfamiliar plants could represent real but rare herbs, and the human diagrams might serve as anatomical or therapeutic references. Another possibility is that it was created by a secretive religious sect that encoded its beliefs to protect them from persecution. Still others believe it was the creation of an eccentric genius who crafted an entirely original language, one that, for unknown reasons, was never passed on. Then there are those who venture further into speculative territory. Some claim the manuscript contains wisdom far beyond its time, possibly left behind by a civilization that predated known history. Others have even suggested it might be of extraterrestrial origin. They point to the unidentifiable flora and alien star maps as evidence that the book could have come from another world entirely. Despite countless efforts to unlock its secrets, the Voynich manuscript remains one of the most confounding texts ever discovered. Every few years, someone announces they've cracked the code, only for their claims to collapse under scrutiny. Some now believe the book was never meant to be understood. Perhaps it was an experiment in linguistics, a work of abstract art, or a clever hoax meant to provoke endless curiosity. Yet the manuscript remains, still unsolved, still unread. Today, it resides at Yale University's Beinecke Rare Book and Manuscript Library, where it continues to baffle historians, linguists, codebreakers, and curious visitors alike. Who wrote it? What does it contain? And why does it exist? We may never know. But the Voynich manuscript holds its place among the greatest literary mysteries ever uncovered, a silent relic written in a language that no one in all of human history has understood. While some ancient texts remain a riddle due to their complexity, others were simply hidden, destroyed, or lost. Entire libraries have vanished, scrolls buried in sand or sealed in stone, waiting for discovery, or doomed to eternal silence. The mystery of the Voynich manuscript endures, but it's only one chapter in a vast history of forgotten knowledge and lost civilizations. What secrets lie buried beneath the earth, locked away in unread pages, still waiting to be found? The Piri-Reis chart, a 16th century puzzle of impossible precision. Some historical artifacts raise more questions than they answer, and few do so as profoundly as the Piri-Reis map, an outlier in the world of ancient cartography. This enigmatic document first resurfaced in 1929 when German theologian Gustav Deismann stumbled upon it within the Vest archives of Istanbul's Topkapı Palace. Buried in a neglected bundle of antique papers, it had remained untouched and overlooked for centuries. Once examined closely, it was found to be the creation of Piri Reis, a renowned Ottoman admiral, seasoned navigator, and expert cartographer. He completed the map in the year 1513. At first glance, it appeared to be a typical early 16th century nautical chart, outlining the familiar shorelines of Europe, parts of Africa, and the recently explored Americas. However, further analysis unveiled something extraordinary. What truly sets this map apart is a mysterious landmass drawn near the southern boundary of the parchment. Many researchers have interpreted this section as a depiction of Antarctica, and herein lies the controversy. Antarctica wasn't officially discovered until 1820, over 3 centuries after this map was drafted. Even more baffling, the landmass isn't shown as the frozen, inhospitable continent we know today. Instead, it includes detailed contours, coastal outlines, and even topographic features, as if it had been observed and recorded before it became buried under massive sheets of ice. According to modern geological studies, the Antarctic continent may have been free of ice more than 6,000 years ago, far earlier than any known civilization had the tools or knowledge to chart coastlines with such precision. So, how could Piri Reis have included this? Intriguingly, the admiral himself provided some insight. In annotations scrawled along the edges of the map, he stated that his chart was not original. Rather, he had assembled using fragments of much older maps, some allegedly dating back to the age of Alexander the Great. He credited his sources to 20 ancient maps, as well as 8 newer ones from Arab and Indian traditions. If these claims are accurate, it suggests that Piri Reis may have inherited geographic wisdom from civilizations far more advanced than we currently recognize, civilizations capable of long-range sea travel and highly accurate mapping long before the modern era began. Supporters of this theory propose that the map is evidence of a lost ancient culture, a global seafaring society whose knowledge endured the collapse of their world and was later absorbed unknowingly by Renaissance-era scholars and explorers. They also point to similar maps from the Middle Ages and Renaissance periods, like the Orance Fine Map and the Zeno Map, which also depict a landmass resembling Antarctica, even though that continent was supposedly unknown at the time. However, not everyone is convinced. Some experts argue that the supposed Antarctic section is simply a misrepresentation, possibly an elongated version of South America's coast. 16th century mapmakers often compiled charts using scattered and second-hand reports, leading to distorted and inaccurate coastlines. Compression, stretching, and creative guesswork were common, and such cartographic quirks may account for the appearance of a landmass where none should be. Another possibility is that early explorers, perhaps the Phoenicians, Chinese, or even pre-Columbian European sailors, ventured farther than previously believed, mapping territories whose records were later lost. If so, the Piri Reis map could be the last trace of a forgotten maritime legacy, a survivor of an ancient network of exploration now erased from the pages of history. Even after decades of intense academic scrutiny, no definitive explanation has emerged. Was Piri Reis unknowingly preserving the remnants of a vanished civilization's world map? Or are we witnessing nothing more than the natural outcome of limited knowledge and flawed navigation, an innocent error now mistaken for a mystery? Whatever the reality, the Piri Reis chart continues to spark debate and fascination. It remains a compelling historical puzzle, one that dares us to question everything we thought we knew about the capabilities of ancient people and the true timeline of discovery. Yet, this isn't the only ancient enigma to blur the lines between fact and fable. Long before Piri Reis dipped his pen in ink, another riddle was forming, one even deeper and more confounding than this mysterious map. The vanished trail. What became of the Clovis civilization? This mystery doesn't revolve around a single object or a strange manuscript. It's about an entire ancient people who thrived for millennia. only to disappear without a trace. A once flourishing civilization vanished, leaving behind scattered evidence and a pressing question: what became of the Clovis culture? The Clovis civilization represents one of the most fascinating and perplexing chapters in early North American history. Estimated to have existed around 13,000 years ago, they're considered one of the earliest known groups to inhabit the continent. These early inhabitants were master hunters, best known for their unique Clovis points, finely crafted spearheads found across the Americas. Made of flint and stone, these advanced tools indicate a people with shared knowledge, long-distance trade systems, and a deep, practical understanding of the landscape. For a long time, researchers believed the Clovis people were the first to cross into the Americas via the Bering land bridge from Siberia. But then, as suddenly as they appeared in the archaeological record, they disappeared. Their culture, tools, and presence all ceased abruptly, with no definitive reason as to why such an expansive society would collapse. The Clovis culture was first brought to light in the early 1900s when distinctive spear tips were unearthed in Clovis, New Mexico, hence the name. These implements were discovered near the bones of Ice Age giants such as mammoths and bison, supporting the view that Clovis hunters were skilled in pursuing large prey and surviving in a frozen, unforgiving world. As more sites were excavated across the United States, Canada, and even parts of South America, it became evident that the Clovis were not a small, isolated tribe. They were widespread, successful, and mobile, leaving behind an abundance of tools that hinted at a well-adapted and resourceful society. Then, nothing. Around 12,800 years ago, all signs of Clovis life abruptly vanish. There's no clear evidence of violent conflict, no signs of starvation, and no straightforward reason for their cultural extinction. It's as if they were wiped from history, leaving behind only tools and fossilized remains. This sudden disappearance has puzzled experts for generations, leading to several competing theories. One of the most discussed is the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, which proposes that a comet or asteroid slammed into Earth around the same time. This cosmic impact may have caused wildfires across the continent and launched vast amounts of ash and debris into the sky, drastically altering the climate. This climatic shift, known as the Younger Dryas cooling period, would have dramatically reduced temperatures, possibly ushering in a return to Ice Age-like conditions. Such an environment would have decimated the Clovis people's food supply, causing the collapse of their way of life. Supporting this idea is a thin black layer of carbon-rich sediment found at Clovis sites, known as the black mat. This layer contains nanodiamonds, which some believe were formed by an extraterrestrial impact. If this hypothesis is true, the Clovis may have been the first human society to be devastated by a sudden global-scale disaster. But there's another theory, one that suggests they didn't disappear at all. Some archaeologists argue the Clovis people may have simply adapted. As massive Ice Age animals went extinct, Clovis groups may have shifted from hunting large game to targeting smaller animals, adopting new ways to survive. This transition could have given rise to later cultures, such as the Folsom people, who appear in the archaeological record soon after the Clovis vanish. If accurate, then the Clovis didn't vanish, they transformed, evolving into new societies. Still, a more chilling explanation persists, that the Clovis were wiped out by a catastrophe unknown to us. Many point to the mass extinction of megafauna during this period. Mammoths, saber-toothed cats, and enormous ground sloths all disappeared around the same time. It's possible the same forces that killed these animals also ended the Clovis way of life. Whether by disease, competition, or ecological collapse, something may have erased them swiftly. Yet the mystery deepens. New archaeological discoveries have unearthed human artifacts predating the Clovis culture by thousands of years. Sites like Monte Verde in Chile and the Galt site in Texas contain evidence of human activity long before the Clovis era. This challenges the long-held belief that the Clovis were the first Americans. If earlier peoples already lived in the Americas, then who exactly were the Clovis? Were they a lone group or part of a much larger migration whose story has been lost? Some speculate the Clovis were descendants of a far older, now forgotten civilization that existed even before the last ice age, a culture obliterated by some ancient catastrophe. Despite all these theories, the fate of the Clovis people remains an unsolved archaeological mystery. Did they fall victim to climate shifts? Were they destroyed by a comet? Or did they merge into other societies, their identity dissolving into the sands of time? The truth is still hidden beneath layers of earth and time. All we have are clues, spear points, bones, and unanswered questions. Did they vanish suddenly in a cataclysm, or gradually blend into newer cultures? Throughout human history, we see this pattern: civilizations that rise, prosper, and then fade, leaving behind whispers of their existence. And while some leave behind ancient remains, others disappear almost without a trace. The enigmatic coin, a Viking relic out of place in America. Sometimes the ocean hides secrets. Sometimes those secrets resurface in the most surprising of locations, tucked beneath layers of earth, challenging everything we've believed to be true. This leads us to one small but deeply debated object: the main penny, a discovery that, if proven authentic, could radically alter our understanding of North America's early history. The year was 1957, when Guy Melgren, an amateur history enthusiast, made a peculiar find at an ancient indigenous site near Nasco Point, Maine. Amid a collection of stone tools, arrowheads, and pottery shards, he unearthed a small, weathered coin. It looked unremarkable at first, just another corroded relic. But when specialists examined it more closely, their reactions were astonishment and disbelief. This wasn't a coin from early European settlers or colonial times. Instead, it was identified as a Norse coin, minted during the reign of Olafkir, a Viking ruler who governed Norway between 1067 and 1093. A Viking-era coin found in Maine. At first, this seemed utterly implausible. The official narrative maintains that Norse explorers, including Leif Erikson, likely reached the shores of present-day Canada around 1000 AD, establishing a temporary base at Lance Ox Meadows in Newfoundland. But no historical accounts suggest they ever traveled as far south as New England, much less left coins behind. So, how did a medieval Scandinavian coin end up buried in Native American territory? One theory proposes that the Norse ventured farther south than previously thought, perhaps even reaching modern-day Maine. If accurate, it would drastically extend the known reach of Viking exploration and suggest previously unknown encounters between Norse seafarers and indigenous peoples in North America. Could Viking merchants have created hidden camps along the coastline? Might they have engaged in trade with tribes far from the icy north? Another, more measured theory posits that the coin arrived through intertribal trade networks. The Penobscot people, who inhabited the area where the coin was discovered, were skilled traders. It's possible that the coin was passed hand to hand across generations, migrating southward from Norse contact zones in Canada, without the Vikings ever personally setting foot in Maine. But not everyone accepts the coin's authenticity. Skeptics argue that the discovery could have been a misunderstanding, or worse, an intentional fabrication. They point out that no other Viking artifacts were found at the site. No weapons, no tools, no household objects, just the coin. If Norse people had indeed been there, wouldn't they have left behind more substantial evidence? Some suspect that the coin was planted, perhaps by someone hoping to spark a sensational discovery. Still, tests conducted on the main penny confirm that it is indeed an authentic 11th century Norse artifact, not a modern forgery. The lingering mystery, then, is not whether it is real, but how it got there. This coin isn't alone in the category of strange discoveries. Other baffling finds have left historians scratching their heads, hints of possible pre-Columbian contact with the Americas. In the 1950s, for instance, a collector in Texas claimed to have uncovered a stash of ancient Roman coins in a small town. Around the same time, similar Roman coins reportedly surfaced near a riverbank in Venezuela. These artifacts, allegedly dating back over a millennium before Columbus, have stirred speculation. Could lost Roman sailors or survivors of shipwrecks have reached the New World far earlier than assumed? Then there's the legendary Oak Island, off the coast of Nova Scotia, a place steeped in tales of buried treasure. Over the years, coins of uncertain origin have been unearthed on the island. Some appear to be European, but their precise age and how they ended up there remain shrouded in mystery. Were they deposited by explorers, pirates, or are they simply later items misinterpreted by over-eager treasure hunters? Perhaps most surprising of all is the discovery of Japanese coins in Kenya, excavated from the ruins of an old Swahili city along the coast. These coins date back to Japan's Edo period. Their presence in East Africa suggests ancient maritime routes may have linked distant corners of the world, far more interconnected than once thought. Although the Japanese coins don't directly relate to Viking exploration or North America, they serve as a powerful reminder. Objects from far-off lands can end up in the most unexpected places, defying logical explanations. The question of who first arrived in the Americas is still fiercely debated. The Maine penny, like many other strange discoveries, invites us to reconsider the traditional timeline of exploration. If the Vikings were here, were they the first? Or did other civilizations, Phoenicians, Romans, even Chinese voyagers, venture across the oceans long before Columbus? Some scholars propose that forgotten expeditions may have occurred, their records lost or never written, their traces nearly erased by time. The Maine penny might not prove Viking settlement in Maine, but it does offer a compelling clue, a puzzle piece that doesn't quite fit the established picture. And if a single coin can challenge the narrative, what other relics still lie beneath our feet, waiting to be discovered? History is filled with strange anomalies, ruins, relics, and coins that don't seem to belong where they're found. The Maine penny is one. The giant of Castelnau, unearthing a giant from ancient times. In 1890, a French anthropologist named Georges Vacher-Delau was carrying out excavations in Castelnau, a quaint town in southern France. What he uncovered would ignite one of the most contentious debates in anthropology. As he carefully dug through the layers of soil, he came upon a set of bones resembling those of a human, but much larger than any human skeleton he had encountered. These bones, including a humerus, femur, and tibia indicated that the individual they belonged to would have stood a remarkable 11 feet tall. If this were true, the discovery of the giant of Castelnau would make it one of the largest human-like creatures ever documented. De Lau swiftly published his findings in the French scientific journal Lore, presenting the remains as those of an extraordinarily large prehistoric human. Based on the proportions of the bones, his calculations indicated a height that seemed impossible for a typical human. Was this proof of a long-lost race of giants, or was it merely a case of extreme gigantism, or even a simple misidentification? The bones were sent to the University of Melior for further examination, where experts confirmed that they were indeed human but exhibited abnormal characteristics. Some researchers suggested that the bones may have belonged to someone suffering from acromegaly or gigantism, conditions that cause abnormal growth due to hormonal imbalances. Others proposed the possibility that the remains could belong to an extinct human subspecies that was naturally larger than Homo sapiens. However, a significant issue with the giant of Castelnau discovery is that the physical evidence no longer exists. The bones themselves were either lost or destroyed, leaving only written records of their discovery. Without these physical remains, modern scientists are unable to verify De Lau's claims. The absence of the bones has led many to dismiss the find as an exaggeration, misinterpretation, or even a hoax. Despite this, the story of the giant of Castelnau continues to circulate, partly because it is not the only alleged discovery of oversized human remains throughout history. Reports of giant skeletons have surfaced across the globe. Native American folklore speaks of red-haired giants that once roamed North America, and 19th century newspapers frequently reported findings of enormous human-like bones in the United States, especially in the Midwest. Though many of these stories lack reliable evidence and are often dismissed as hoaxes, they persist, fueling speculation about the existence of ancient giants. One particularly enduring legend centers around the giants of Sardinia in Italy, where locals have long claimed that enormous humanoid skeletons were uncovered in ancient tombs. Some villagers even claim to have seen these remains in person before they were allegedly removed by authorities. According to conspiracy theories, mainstream archaeologists and government agencies have deliberately concealed evidence of a lost race of giants, fearing that such a discovery would disrupt established historical narratives. However, no verifiable physical evidence has ever been presented to substantiate these claims. Skeptics argue that many of the so-called giant skeletons can be explained by more plausible reasons. Some oversized bones likely belong to extinct megafauna rather than humans, while others may have been misidentified, appearing larger due to environmental factors or distortion over time. Additionally, conditions like gigantism and acromegaly, though rare, have existed throughout history, resulting in individuals who were significantly taller than their peers. Yet, even among skeptics, the giant of Castelnau remains a perplexing case. Unlike many sensationalized giant reports, this discovery was made by a respected anthropologist, documented in a scientific journal, and initially examined by trained researchers. Had the bones survived, modern techniques such as DNA analysis and radiocarbon dating could have provided definitive answers. Could they have belonged to an early human ancestor who was larger than we thought? Or Could they have been evidence of a population of unusually tall individuals that have been lost to history? The past is full of anomalies, artifacts that defy conventional explanations, and discoveries that raise more questions than they answer. The Giant of Castelnau is just one example where history seems to present something that doesn't quite fit. Did giants once walk the earth, or were these skeletal remains merely an extreme case of human height? Without the physical evidence, we may never know for certain. However, the idea of lost civilizations that understood things we still struggle to explain is not confined to ancient bones. Some mysteries are not buried deep within the earth, but stand in plain sight, challenging the passage of time in ways that defy logic. In the heart of Delhi, India, there exists an artifact so perplexing that scientists and historians continue to ponder its origins. Unlike hidden relics or objects buried beneath layers of soil, this artifact stands exposed, seemingly unaffected by time. This is the Iron Pillar of Delhi, a 1,600-year-old metal column that has baffled metallurgists for centuries. Unlike any other iron structure from its era, the pillar has not rusted. Standing over 23 feet tall and weighing more than 6 tons, the Iron Pillar is believed to have been erected during the reign of Chandragupta II in the 4th century AD. It bears inscriptions in Sanskrit, suggesting it was originally constructed as a victory monument to honor the Hindu god Vishnu. Over the centuries, the pillar has remained a symbol of India's rich history, but what truly sets it apart is its apparent resistance to corrosion. In an age where even modern steel structures can rust within decades, how has this ancient column survived for over a millennium with scarcely a trace of oxidation? The mystery surrounding the Iron Pillar's rust resistance has intrigued scientists for generations. Various theories have been proposed, ranging from advanced ancient metallurgy to divine intervention. Some researchers suggest that the creators of the pillar used a highly pure form of wrought iron, combined with the dry climate of Delhi, which may have helped slow the rusting process. The real breakthrough came in the 20th century when metallurgists discovered a thin, protective layer of what is now called misal, a compound of iron, oxygen, and phosphorus that has formed naturally over time, shielding the pillar from humidity and pollution. This discovery led to further questions. How did ancient Indian blacksmiths develop a technique that modern metallurgists only began to comprehend in recent decades? The composition of the pillar suggests that the iron was purifying through a process involving high phosphorus content and the absence of sulfur and manganese, methods that were advanced even by today's standards. Some experts argue that this wasn't a fluke, but a deliberate engineering feat, indicating that ancient Indian metallurgists possessed knowledge far beyond what we had assumed. However, not everyone agrees that conventional science can fully explain the pillar's preservation. Some theorists believe the Iron Pillar is evidence of lost ancient technologies, pointing to other mysterious metal artifacts, such as the Baghdad Battery, a clay jar believed by some to be an early form of electrical storage, or the Damascus steel used in medieval sword making, whose exact production techniques remain a mystery. Others take a more supernatural approach, suggesting that the pillar has been blessed by divine forces. According to local legend, the Iron Pillar was originally placed at the center of the earth by an ancient king to stabilize the land. When the British attempted to excavate its base in the 19th century, they reportedly found it was not embedded deeply into the ground, leading to the belief that disturbing could bring disaster. Some Hindu traditions even claim the pillar is connected to the god Vishnu, who protects it from decay. Skeptics argue that while the iron pillar is an extraordinary example of ancient craftsmanship, it does not necessarily point to lost knowledge or divine protection. They note that other iron artifacts, such as rust-resistant iron beams in Indian temples, share similar properties, suggesting that while rare, this technique was not entirely unique. Moreover, controlled environmental conditions and the pillar's relatively low exposure to moisture have likely played a role in its preservation. Despite these explanations, the iron pillar remains an enigma. Even with our advanced technology, the ability to create a completely rust-resistant iron structure without modern coatings is something that engineers and metallurgists still strive to replicate. Some modern scientists have even studied the pillar's composition in hopes of applying its corrosion-resistant properties to new materials, proving that ancient knowledge can still influence modern advancements. The iron pillar of Delhi stands as a testament to the remarkable knowledge possessed by ancient metallurgists, a marvel of engineering that has withstood time, defying rust in ways that even modern technology struggles to replicate. Whether the result of advanced craftsmanship, environmental conditions, or something we have yet to fully comprehend, it presents a silent challenge to our understanding of the past. Yet, it is not the only artifact that raises such questions. Some discoveries seem to hint at knowledge far beyond what their time should have allowed. Objects so strange, so seemingly out of place, they force us to reconsider the true capabilities of ancient civilizations. One such object, discovered in modern-day Iraq, has left scientists and historians debating for decades: the Baghdad Battery. This artifact has sparked theories ranging from forgotten ancient technology to extraterrestrial influence. At the heart of the mystery is a simple question: could people over 2,000 years ago have created a working electrical device? If so, what purpose did they use it for? The story of the Baghdad Battery begins in the 1930s, when a German archaeologist named Wilhelm Kick examined artifacts at the National Museum of Iraq. Among the collection was a small, unassuming clay jar about 5 inches tall, containing a copper cylinder and an iron rod. Dated to around 250 BC, the jar came from the Parthian or Sasanian period. It wasn't its age that made it peculiar, but its design. Kick noted that the structure of the jar seemed eerily similar to a modern battery. In 1940, he published a paper suggesting that the artifact might have been used to generate electricity. His theory was simple. If an acidic liquid, like vinegar or lemon juice, was poured into the jar, it would create an electrochemical reaction that could generate a small voltage. This theory was controversial, but gained traction when researchers replicated the Baghdad Battery in the 1970s. American engineer Willard F. M. Gray built a working model, filled it with an acidic solution, and measured its output. To the surprise of many, it generated about 1 volt of electricity. Subsequent experiments confirmed that the device could, in theory, function as a rudimentary battery. But the real question wasn't whether it could generate electricity, it was why. What possible use could an ancient civilization have had for an electrical device? One popular theory suggests the battery was used for electroplating, a process in which a thin layer of metal, like gold or silver, is deposited onto another surface. Some ancient artifacts show signs of electroplating, though the evidence is inconclusive. If true, this would suggest that the Parthian or Sasanian people had some understanding of electricity and used it for decorative or practical purposes. Another theory proposes that the battery had religious or medicinal applications. Some researchers believe it might have been used in spiritual ceremonies, producing small electrical shocks interpreted as divine power. Others suggest it could have been a primitive form of acupuncture or pain relief, similar to how electric currents are used in modern medicine. There are also more speculative theories, such as the idea that the Baghdad battery was part of a larger, now lost, technological system, a failed experiment with electricity that was later abandoned or forgotten. Some even link it to theories of lost civilizations, suggesting that the device could be evidence of knowledge passed down from an ancient, advanced society. And of course, there are those who argue that it may have had extraterrestrial origins. The Shugborough Cipher, the mystery of the unsolved stone code, in the realm of lost knowledge, vanished technologies, and cryptic messages. One of the most puzzling enigmas is not an ancient artifact or forgotten machine, but rather a simple inscription carved into a stone at an English manor. This mysterious sequence, which has baffled cryptographers for almost 300 years, contains 10 letters etched into the surface of the Shepherd's Monument, sparking countless debates and theories. Unlike the Baghdad battery, which has plausible theories regarding its purpose, the Shugborough inscription stands in a category of its own. No known explanations exist for the sequence, and no records detail its origins, creator, or intended meaning. Despite this, the puzzle has attracted the attention of some of history's brightest minds, including World War II codebreakers, all of whom failed to decipher its contents. This is the tale of the Shugborough Inscription, an unsolved code set in stone. Located in Staffordshire, England, Shugborough Hall is a grand estate dating back to the 1600s. Once the residence of the Anson family, the manor features expansive gardens, classical architecture, and ornate sculptures. However, one feature has intrigued the world above all others. The Shepherd's Monument, built between 1748 and 1763, prominently displays a relief of the famous painting The Shepherds of Arcadia by Nicholas Poussin. The painting shows shepherds gathered around a tomb, pointing to the inscription at "In Arcadia Ego," often interpreted to mean, "Even in Arcadia, I exist," symbolizing the inescapable nature of death. However, beneath this artistic relief lies something unusual, a sequence of 10 letters, DOUSVAVVM. For nearly 3 centuries, no one has been able to figure out what these letters represent. There is no explanation for their placement, no indication of who carved them, nor any direct link to historical events. Despite the inscription's relatively modern creation compared to other ancient puzzles, it has resisted all attempts at interpretation. Theories abound, ranging from the plausible to the fantastical, each adding to the monument's eerie allure. One of the most enduring theories links the inscription to the Knights Templar, the medieval military order often associated with secret knowledge and hidden treasures. Some believe the letters conceal a message revealing the location of the Holy Grail, the legendary cup used during the Last Supper. This theory gains traction due to its connection to Poussin's painting, as some researchers claim the artist hid secret codes within his works, possibly tying the Templars to the monument. Another possibility is that the inscription serves as a personal tribute. Some historians suggest that it may be a coded dedication from Admiral George Anson, a member of the Anson family and a renowned British explorer. One interpretation proposes that the letters represent an anagram or Latin phrase, possibly related to the Anson family's values or accomplishments. However, no universally accepted translation exists, leaving the puzzle unsolved. Linguists have also suggested that the sequence might represent a religious Latin phrase, such as Ora et omnes servant, meaning pray that all may be saved. Yet, this interpretation remains speculative, as there are no historical links connecting the Anson family to such a phrase. What adds to the intrigue is that some of the most skilled codebreakers in history have tried and failed to decode the sequence. During World War II, British codebreakers at Bletchley Park, the same minds that deciphered the Nazi Enigma code, allegedly attempted to crack the Shugborough inscription, but no answer emerged. In the modern era, cryptologists and amateur codebreakers have used various cipher techniques, but none have succeeded in producing a definitive solution. Some skeptics argue that the inscription may not be a cipher at all. It could be a decorative element, meant to look mysterious without encoding any actual message. However, this raises further questions. If the letters were simply decorative, why would they be inscribed on such a detailed monument without any record of their purpose? The absence of any clear explanation only fuels the mystery. One particularly bizarre theory suggests that the letters represent an early form of steganography, hiding messages within images or text. Some believe the inscription could serve as a key to unlocking a larger code hidden elsewhere on the estate or in other historical documents. Despite centuries of speculation, no single theory has gained universal acceptance. The Shugborough inscription remains one of the most enduring unsolved codes in history. Unlike ancient scripts or undeciphered languages that require extensive historical context, this puzzle should, in theory, be solvable. Yet, it has resisted every attempt to unravel it. The allure of this mystery lies not only in the inscription itself, but in the eerie possibility that its meaning may be forever lost. Without any contemporary records explaining its creation, its true purpose may never be known. Some believe that the answer is still out there, waiting for the right person to crack the code, while others fear that, like many historical enigmas, the truth may have died with the person who carved it. The Shugborough inscription remains a haunting riddle, a sequence of 10 letters carved into stone that refuses to be understood. Unlike many ancient mysteries, it's not hidden in the depths of a jungle or buried beneath ruins. It stands openly, tantalizing those who try to decipher its meaning. Centuries of speculation, theories ranging from the Holy Grail to wartime codes, and the failure of even history's greatest codebreakers to solve its secret only deepen the puzzle's mystery. The unsolved and overlooked fragments of history that persist in perplexing specialists and igniting endless discussions. However, The further we investigate, the more questions emerge. If you found this exploration into the mysterious captivating, be sure to subscribe and explore our other videos for more unsolved riddles yet to be uncovered. Thank you for tuning in, and remember, until we meet again, keep questioning the unknown and stay curious.